I'm Ricky Fallon, reporting live with Channel 5 News Special Report. Chicago Public Schools, aka CPS, in crisis. The pandemic's lasting impact on Chicago students. Now, imagine being a student in Chicago during the COVID-19 pandemic. Your classroom is a glitchy Zoom call. Your teacher just returned from strike. And your next meal, it depends on whether the school cafeteria is open at all. And your mental health is the worst it's ever been. For many kids, the Chicago Public Schools, this wasn't just a temporary inconvenience. It was everyday survival. And today, the effects are still being felt. Tonight, we'll take you through the real story behind the data. A story of missed learning, mental health struggles, teacher instability, and how many children relied on school or even their basic needs. To start our investigation, let's head over to our education correspondent on the scene. Over to you.
Thank you, Ricky. I'm here live outside on Morgan Park High School, a CPS school where the story isn't just about test scores. It's about what students lost and how far behind they are. Let's begin with one of the most serious but often overlooked effects of the pandemic, student mental health. Before COVID, mental health issues among youth were already a concern. But once lockdown started, students lost all the daily things that kept them grounded. Friendships, support systems, routines, and even their school counselors. Many students felt isolated and anxious. Depression rates rose, and tragically, USA Facts reported that youth suicide rates peaked between 2021 and 2022. At the same time, many CPS students were stuck at home. Without connection, structure, and emotional supports, school became a ghost of itself, and so did many of its students. Some turned to alcohol and drugs to cope, and while other states like Texas brought students back to the classroom quickly, CPS stayed online longer, and the damage deepened. But let's talk numbers now, because they're just as alarming. According to data from a journalist, Thomas Wilgren, chronic absentee in CPS skyrocketed to 45%. That's nearly half of all students missing at least 18 days of school. Even now, CPS isn't fully recovered. The average daily attendance dropped more than 6% since before the pandemic, and those lost days represented missing learning, missed growth, and missed opportunity. And it isn't just students who are missing. Teacher strikes disrupted the critical academic windows. In one example covered by Maylee Smith, a strike was planned during the Illinois state testing, the most important assessment for students in 3rd through 8th grade. Without teachers, these tests could not be given, meaning no reliable data to check how far students have fallen. In short, students weren't showing up, and even when they did, sometimes their teachers weren't there either. And while all this may sound academic, there's something even more human behind the data: basic survival. Schools, especially in low-income areas, are more than places to learn. They are where children eat, wash, and even feel safe. When COVID closed schools, many kids didn't just lose access to lessons. They lost access to breakfast and lunch, to dental care, to warm clothes. A counselor in Georgia named Ashley worked at the Title I school where students rely on school for nearly everything. She told me some students don't get food at home, so the students let them eat seconds with no questions asked. They even send kids home with backpacks full of food. Now imagine a CPS student with the same needs, but their school is closed. What happens to them? Let's hear from an elementary school teacher earlier in the day about her thoughts about Zoom and online learning.
Teaching on Zoom felt like I was babysitting kids through a screen. Their cameras were off, parents would jump in, and some even gave their kids the answers during assessments. Nothing was required, so half the students or more didn't do the work at all. When we finally came back in person learning, I still couldn't teach properly. There were no small groups, no hands-on lessons, and way too many restrictions. It wasn't real teaching, and I couldn't pretend that it was, so I left.
Thank you for that powerful insight. So where does that leave us? Well, some researchers argue that CPS grades didn't decline, pointing to stable report cards. Those numbers are misleading. In spring 2020, students couldn't fail. Many passed simply by logging into class. But did they actually learn? Did they grow? Did they feel safe and supported? And even now, years later, we're still asking, can CPS recover? Texas built a recovery plan. Georgia opened schools earlier. They kept kids connected, but for Chicago, the damage may have already been done. Students are still catching up academically and emotionally, and unless the system makes a real change, the crisis might become the new normal. And so for them to be able to overcome this, I believe they need to make accountability and update reminders to students and teachers to hold each student and teacher responsible, to be able to grow academically, but the only main issue with that is due to it being around 5 years after students have gone back to the classroom. It might be overall too late. So overall, what do? We listen to teachers. We rebuild trust. We make sure that every student in every zip code gets not just a desk, but a future. Because education isn't just about facts, it's about the support, stability, and hope. Reporting live for Channel 5 News, I'm Bolden Smith. Thank you and good night.